first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not financially helping family and friends despite being able to? My son, Nick, was born with a congenital heart defect 17 years ago. It required a $60,000 surgery in Israel if he was to survive past 12 months. I've spent the first 3 months of his life running around, begging people and searching for money. My parents gave us $100. They had well-paying jobs and guaranteed state pensions. When I asked my brother for help, he mumbled something about needing to save for his daughter's college. She never went, by the way. Anyone who met her could have told him that much. They did take regular vacations overseas, though. My department of 40 at work donated $30 and a card. At one point, I was seriously searching for ways to sell my kidney and liver. My in-laws sold their apartment for $35,000. Best friend gave me another $7,000, which was all he had. Accepting his help was one of the few times I cried in my adult life. I sold my car and every piece of furniture and electronics that wasn't bolted to the walls. My in-laws moved in, and we've spent the next 5 years living together. 5 people, crammed into a 2-bedroom. Surgery was a success. As fate has it, I started a hustle and it took off. After years of hard work, I moved our headquarters to a Central European country to be closer to our EU clients. Even discounting for about 2/3 of my wealth that is tied up in the business, I am a multi-millionaire. My in-laws now have a 4-bedroom house. We pay for them to go on vacations 3 to 4 times a year, or did, before 2020. My son is a hard worker who makes me a very proud father. I can't say that I hate those who didn't help back in the day. Hate is a strong word. Rather, I feel like I've learned my lesson and don't expect anything from them. I don't invite my parents for visits. They're welcome to pay for their flights and a hotel room, but I won't cover their expenses like I do with the in-laws. My brother asked for a loan to start his business 5 years ago. I said the time wasn't right. 2 months ago, his daughter got into a car accident, drunk driving. Nothing seemingly life-threatening, but a lot of nasty scarring on her legs that require costly cosmetic surgery. I suggested he looks into downsizing, as I'm focused on helping my kids get good education. Old co-workers who wanted to join my business once it took off were told to apply through the regular process. Except for my best friend. He's been my partner from the start, and I sleep better at night knowing we've got each other's backs. It comes without saying there have been lots of very unhappy people in my life. In our culture, you're expected to support your community and family, do favors. Nepotism is very much an ingrained thing. You're supposed to bring over your family. If you're lucky enough to root yourself in the Western world, help friends immigrate. My parents told me to my face they are ashamed of me, how the Western culture has changed me. I've been called many things, way worse than an a-hole and heartless. After hearing my story, tell me Reddit, am I though? Edit. To those wondering why my parents had a pretty lukewarm response, if you can even call it that, the surgery had a 40% success rate. They thought we should let nature run its course, and instead, try for a new baby. It may sound horrendous to Westerners, but it's not that cold of a statement to someone in our home country, but obviously wife and I didn't take it well. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your in-laws sold their $35,000 house to help you. Your best friend gave you all he had to help your son. Nobody else helped you, or even pretended to help you and your son. Your in-laws deserve everything you're giving to them because they were one of the only people there for you at your absolute lowest. You were going to sell your kidney for your son because nobody else helped you. Having your old co-workers who did not help you beg to get into your business don't deserve it. And not only that, but it is 100% fair that they are to apply just as anyone else. Your parents are just angry at you for not sharing your success. If you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. That goes for you and your son in relation to rest of family. Not the a-hole, but your parents and old co-workers certainly are. Huh, this is probably the first time the "can't handle me at my worst" phrase made any sense to me. Thanks for putting a smile on my face. Not the a-hole. They're not obligated to help you and you're not obligated to help them. Don't help them. But your parents' comment about let nature run its course and instead try for a new baby, like, what the F do they smoke? Who tells that to anyone? They essentially told you to let your son die and provide them with another grandchild. You've got no contact then and there. Nobody needs such people in their lives. It's very hard to explain this, but it's truly not as horrific as it sounds for people raised and living in that culture. I don't know how to get it across in a just manner. The only very weird analogy that comes to mind is how bone marrow jello is a delicacy in some countries that is served during holidays. And in other cultures, people would have a complete WTF moment if they are told this is food. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for respecting my late brother, 45 male, wishes, and not telling his ex-wife, 46 female, about his diagnosis and not informing anyone about him passing away? My parents died when I, 38 female, was 11. I didn't have an extended family in the US, so my brother, 45 male, raised me after that. He was basically my dad, and a good one. When I was 15, he met Olivia, 46 female. They dated for 2 years before getting married. They had 2 daughters together, Sarah, 12 female, and Amelia, 14 female. They were very happy together. My brother was a family man, so he was living his dream. 5 years ago, my nieces went camping with their uncle, Olivia's brother. When they were driving back home, they were hit by a drunk driver. Amelia and Olivia's brother died at the scene. Sarah arrived at the hospital alive, but she didn't survive the surgery. It almost broke my brother. He managed to suffer in silence to help Olivia. But they managed to survive, and I thought they were strong. From the outside, it seemed like they really loved each other. Last year, after staying with my brother for 23 years, Olivia came out as a lesbian, and she asked my brother for divorce. It was a shock to everyone. That really messed my brother's head. During the divorce proceedings, my brother started feeling sick. He eventually was diagnosed with stage 2 pancreatic cancer. After the diagnosis, my brother dove down into a deep depression. He moved in with me, Houston to Hartford. He isolated himself from everyone. The divorce was handled only through his lawyer, and he cut contact with Olivia. Asked me to not tell anyone about his diagnosis, then deactivate his social media. He was severely depressed. He went through 2 rounds of chemo and 1 major surgery. But unfortunately, it didn't work, and he was terminal. My brother's depression went as deep as it could. He barely spoke to anyone at that point. When he had the energy, he liked playing with my kids. Otherwise, he just spent his time looking at old photos and videos. Before he died, he told me that he didn't want a funeral, that he wanted to be cremated, that I didn't inform anyone about his death, and that I spread his ashes in a certain place. It is a lake in Vermont where he used to take the girls to hike. He just wanted to be forgotten, his words. My brother died in September. I did everything he asked me, and in October, I went there to spread his ashes. Last Thursday, Olivia showed at my place. She said that she couldn't talk to him, and she wanted to spend Christmas with him. I invited her in and told her what happened. She didn't take the news very well. At first, she accused me of lying. Then she told me that I stole him from her, that she had a right to know before the divorce, that I shouldn't have spread his ashes, that he shouldn't have to die alone. I was there with him, that she didn't know why he did that to her, that she shouldn't be punished. She started to panic. I tried to calm her down, but she got a bit aggressive, and my kids got scared, so I asked her to leave. She told people about his death, and now I'm being harassed in social media by my brother's friends, her family, and people I don't even know. Made me wonder, am I the a-hole here, Reddit? Now for the top judgment of this post. Not the a-hole. You were respecting your brother's wishes. However, since it is out there now, run an obituary for him, which includes the statement that the announcement of his death was delayed at his request, as well as the fact that he chose to share his diagnosis with very few people. Tell anyone who asks that Olivia chose to give up a legal right to know about his condition, and he chose not to share it with her. This is a good idea. Maybe even post it on your social media. Not the a-hole. You respected his final wishes. Once she divorced him, none of this was up to her, and showing up out of the blue without communicating with you is a bit of a boundary breach. This, you did as your brother asked. You were/are his family. She no longer was. Not her decision. Tell everyone they can kick rocks. It's none of their business. God, no. You have had so much tragedy in life. Off topic, but you're a super strong person. Not the a-hole at all. Once you're divorced, You're not owed a single thing from the other person or that person's family that doesn't involve shared children. You did what your brother asked, and that's all you needed to do. I'm sure she feels immense guilt, and is probably still traumatized by her own tragedy with the girls. Still, you didn't owe it to her to tell her anything. I'm so sorry you've seen so much tragedy in your life. Thank you. But my brother was always stronger than me. He took me while I was grieving and never complained. Took care of me like a parent. Cooked for me, helped with my homework. Took care of me while I was sick. Comforted me when I had my first heartbreak. And he worked his butt off to let me go to college without any debt. He never complained, not even once. He was indeed strong. Now, for the next story. Am I the a-hole for spending significantly more on my 18-year-old brother than I did on my younger siblings? So, I'm significantly older than my half-siblings. Long story short here, my mother died when I was in my mid-teens, and my dad took off with a woman literally half his age shortly after. The kids are 18 male, 14 female, and 12 male. Honestly, our dad is kind of a jerk in general. He's always been a bit of a hard-A, very into the whole tough love, hands off, let my wife do all the work, I'll just be the disciplinarian approach to parenting. One of his more extreme/weird rules is that he expects all of his children to move out of his house within 3 months of turning 18. Now, this applied for me, but I had been left a significant inheritance by my mom and my grandpa when they both died. Plus, I had a good apprenticeship in the company, I'm now a manager in, I could afford to move out and do so comfortably. My little brother was less fortunate. His only income was from a part-time job in a pub. Plus, he has some mental health issues. Depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and I suspect an eating disorder, which make life harder for him. Plus, he turned 18 this year. I really thought Dad would be more lenient, but no, my brother still had to move out. He stayed with me for a while, then got put up in a flat by himself. He's honestly barely scraping by, and I wish he'd come back to mine. But that's a whole other thing in itself. All that to say, Kid has had a tough old year, and I wanted to do something to cheer him up for the Christmas. I managed to get him a PS5 and a couple of games for it, as well as a couple of other little treats. Plus, I paid a few months' rent for him to take the pressure off him for a while. I got a pretty generous Christmas bonus this year, so it wasn't like I bankrupted myself for him or anything. But it was still a significant amount to spend, and not something I could have done 3 times over. But I still did spend quite a bit on my younger siblings. My sister got a pair of Air Max she's wanted for ages. My brother got a Jack Wales coat, and they both got a few extras. I won't give exact figures, but I spent a couple of hundred each on the younger two in comparison to almost 2,000 on my oldest brother. I didn't bring it up, but somehow our dad and my stepmother found out, and now they're both pretty mad at me. They're accusing me of playing favorites and punishing my younger siblings because I'm mad at my dad. My stepmother is insistent that since the younger two are still kids, so there should be more focus on them for Christmas, and as an adult, my oldest brother should expect to get less. It's caused a huge rift, with neither of them speaking to me currently, and the 18-year-old feeling horribly guilty about it all. I'm wondering now if I screwed up purely because of how upset they are about it. Not day hall. What you do for your adult siblings isn't their business. I'm sure when the other two turn 18, you'll help them out if they need it. For future consideration, kids may perceive it to be unfair. You could give some things not as Christmas gifts, but just a nice gesture in another day, and give a comparable part of the gift on the holiday. That's the mad thing to me, is the kids don't seem to care. It's just my dad and stepmom who are bothered. Not day hall. I'm sorry for what your brother is going through, OP. You're so sweet to try to make him feel better. Everyone deserves to have a sibling that has their back like that. You were incredibly generous with all your siblings. The difference is the younger two have a roof over their heads and family around them still. I'm sure if they were having a rough time, you'd have been just as helpful with them. The fact is, they're not. You don't owe anyone anything just because someone, in this case dad and stepmom, says it's not fair. You didn't ignore the kids or get them nothing. You still got them very nice gifts. Not day hall. How you spend your money is none of their business. Chances are, they are afraid word will get out they're neglecting their struggling son in a year like this. This whole idea of forcing your kids to move out at 18 is ridiculous anyway. Just to rub it in, I tell them the PS5 was for Christmas and the rest was just because. I mean, if you really want to rub it in, be like, I just gave him the support he needed, even though he isn't my child. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not sharing my baby clothes and blankets with my husband's sister? I, 26 female, was pregnant with my son 6 months ago when I miscarried at 19 weeks, though I consider him stillborn, because he was so close to reaching the cutoff, but he didn't, and we didn't get to parent him. It has been so hard because my husband's sister was pregnant at the same time as me, and now she's due anytime now with her first child. We get along really well usually, until recently. My husband's sister and her husband had some property issues that ended up leading to most of their baby stuff getting destroyed, and during COVID, he lost his job, so they have less money. My husband's sister asked us if we could let them have the clothes we bought our son, as well as the blankets I made for him, because those are the things they still need. My husband had already gone out to buy a couple of clothes items for the baby to help, but we're not ready to say goodbye to the stuff yet, and we told them that. She was angry and not understanding. She said we were the least helpful in their hour of need, and how could we deny our future niece or nephew some clothes and a blanket? My husband told her it's not like our son simply outgrew them, and she fired back that he's never going to wear them, but her child could. She told me she was especially pissed at me, as a mom, not doing what I could for a child. I feel guilty and angry and jealous a little. She's so far along now, and I didn't make it that far with my son, and I am struggling more because I feel so bad. I am also in between therapists because the therapist I saw up until November quit out of nowhere from the practice, and I haven't meshed with anyone else since. And I can feel the fracture in the family because of this, but at the same time, I'm just not ready to get rid of anything or change anything in the room yet. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She doesn't get to decide how you grieve or what you are ready to give up now, or ever. I am so sorry for the loss of your son. You keep all of his items that you want off whoever lot you need to. Keep them for your next baby if you want. You certainly don't owe them to sister-in-law. Exactly. No one is ever entitled someone else's things too. Even if Opie never wanted kids again, it's 100% her choice if she wants to give them to someone. Not the a-hole. She can screw right off with her attitude. It's rich how she acts like if you don't give her the blanket you literally made for your child, that will mean she has no way of ever having any blanket for her child. There are plenty of charity organizations that she could get baby stuff from in their hour of need. She doesn't need yours. And she fired back that he's never going to wear them, but her child could. She told me she was especially pissed at me, as a mom, not doing what I could for a child. And I am especially pissed at you, because as a mom, you should know how freaking devastating it would be to lose a child during pregnancy. And then having people demanding the baby things and saying things like that are completely heartless. Edited to add, I'm so sorry for your loss. Hugs. Not a a-hole. Your sister-in-law has no right to demand the things you bought and made with love for your little baby. You are still grieving the terrible loss you experienced, and it's okay to want to hold on to mementos, especially the blankets you made him. Your sister can ask for donations, but she cannot demand them from anyone. She should back off, and her comment was really out of line. I wish you and your husband good luck in your journey. Hopefully, you will find a new therapist soon. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for giving my siblings what they want by refusing to spend time around them and their kids? I'm 20 male, 12 years younger than my sister, and 14 years younger than my brother. I remember them always disliking me. I'm 100% their full biological brother. My parents are my biological parents. That was something I used to question, but my dad and I did 23andMe to alleviate my fears. What my parents think is that my siblings were jealous of me when I was born, and extended family believes the same. They never seemed that excited and used to act like I was crazy, wild, and out of control. They even said stuff about me being impossible to control when nobody else was around. But they were never alone with me. They avoided me when I was a kid and moved out while I was still young. I was maybe 10 when they started talking about me being a terror as a little kid. They even called me a monster and said I almost put them off having kids. Our relationship never changed. They ignored my birthdays, ignored my graduation, and didn't invite me to their weddings or baby showers. They've said in group chats repeatedly that they don't want me around their kids, saying they don't want their kids to be wild little monsters like I used to be. Everyone has called them out on their behavior, but they insist they won't let me influence their kids. Nobody else has ever complained about me as a kid like that. At school, I was even considered too quiet and shy. Teachers struggled to get me to socialize or speak in class. Friends even said I was the quietest and have zero idea where this comes from. After years of hearing it, having them avoid me, and saying they don't want me around their kids, I've decided I won't be. I'll skip anything they attend, so I don't have to spend any time around them or their kids. The rest of my family tells me I shouldn't do that, because my nieces and nephews deserve to know me. But it's more of a headache than it's worth, and there's no guarantee I'd even be allowed to say hi to them. My parents went nuts on my siblings over this and said how disgusting their treatment of me has always been. They told me my siblings are in the wrong, and I should just ignore them. But it feels like too much BS to tolerate, so why not give my siblings what they want and live a more peaceful life? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Wow, after 20 years, parents finally grew a spine and told your siblings that they are the monsters, not you. Sad that it took them that long. Not the a-hole, your siblings are complete a-holes here. Hope the rest of your family will grow a spine as well and give them a slap back to reality check, because they need it. Right? I'm 11 and 12 years younger than my siblings. Full siblings, not half. My parents would have never allowed them to treat me that way. And my nibblings and siblings benefited too. I was around to be another set of hands when they needed it. Maybe the siblings need to be excluded for a bit. They need a serious come-to-Jesus chat and should have gotten it 15 years ago. Not the a-hole, your siblings have been hating you for years for no reason and bad-mouthing you around and even insulting you and going to the point of shunning you out and excluding you, and your extended family expects you to just deal with it? No, give your siblings what they want. The only little entitled terrors is them. They can tell their own children why their uncle isn't part of their lives because they are just self-centered a-holes that never matured past the age of 12 and 14. Their kids were taught I am not their uncle, so maybe they'll never care or consider me an uncle. That's gotta be confusing though, because I know my parents talk about me and label me as such. Not the a-hole, but don't be a doormat. Don't skip any events because they'll be there. Just go and ignore them. Pay them no mind and just give them the same energy. Why ruin your relationship with your family because they will be there? They feel so strongly about it, they can skip out. Don't give them what they want. Because it makes me unhappy to be around them. That's why giving them what they want also makes my life better. My family might hate it, but ignoring them just isn't enough for me to enjoy myself. No, my dude. You need to embrace the petty. Let the rest of the family in on the joke, and then show up to family gatherings in a blue mohawk wig and fake tattoos all over. Animal from the Muppets inspired grunge rock clothing. And flip-flop between that look and something that screams corporate lawyer. So that siblings never know who's showing up to Christmas, but Nana knows it's a game and is in on it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to lend my brother 10 grand after he spent all his savings on a luxury car and now wants me to bail him out? So I, 28 female, have a brother 30 male who's always struggled with money. He makes a decent salary but has never been good at saving. A few months ago, he bought a super expensive luxury car, draining his savings, maxing out credit cards, and borrowing money from everyone. Now he's behind on payments and called me last week asking for $10,000 to keep the car from being repossessed. I told him no. I've worked hard for my money, and I can't justify giving him that much when he's been irresponsible with his finances. He got mad, saying I'm being selfish and that I should help because we're family. He even said that if the roles were reversed, he'd help me out. I told him I don't trust him with money after everything that's happened, and I'm not going to keep bailing him out. Now he's telling our parents I'm being unreasonable, and they're pressuring me to help. He has taken it further, and is threatening to take my dog, since it was a present he got me for my birthday. Am I the a-hole for refusing to lend my brother $10,000 after he spent all his savings on a luxury car and now wants me to bail him out? Let your parents bail his butt out. Siblings are not entitled to each other's assets. He can't afford car is not life-threatening emergency. I get similar calls from my siblings because I made smarter choices in life. Maybe no one should bail him out? A 30-year-old is old enough to live with the consequences of their very bad decision to buy a car they couldn't afford. Not the a-hole. He can sell the car and get something cheaper. This could be a good lesson for him if no one bails him out. He'd never help you if you ended up in this situation, as he wouldn't have the money either. If your parents feel so strongly about it, they can lend it themselves. I agree. Sometimes the best help is letting someone face the consequences and learn from it. If he steals your dog, file charges. I am hoping you have vet records. I suggested OP getting the dog chipped to avoid this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go no contact with my aunt and uncle and telling mom I'd rather go no contact with her and her family? My dad died when I, 21 male, was 5. My mom didn't like my dad's siblings, so she stopped me from seeing them for over a year, and they had to go to court and fight for the right to see me through what's considered grandparent visitation, but can be applied to other biological relatives who had a significant role in your life prior to the death of your parent. It was shown to be in my best interest to maintain the relationship with my aunt and uncle, so they won and got to see me twice a month. My mom ended up remarrying, and her husband's finances were a mess when they met. He also had, I think, 3 kids he was supposed to pay for and didn't, but also didn't see. Then he and my mom had kids together. My aunt and uncle knew about the financial issues, so they would buy school supplies for me, put money into my school lunch account, or give me the money to do it if there was any issue with them doing it directly. They also bought me essentials when I was with them. My mom told them they couldn't see me anymore if they didn't buy for the other kids, but my aunt and uncle brought up the visitation order. My mom tried to remove their visitation and even used the fact that both were now married, and I now had an extra aunt and uncle, but mom said they were strangers who shouldn't be around me. My uncle argued that mom's husband was a stranger who shouldn't have been brought into my life. She said getting another dad is different from an aunt or uncle's spouse. I told mom I didn't have another dad. She blamed my disrespect on my aunt and uncle. Finances at mom's house kept getting worse, and because of my aunt and uncle, I never suffered as badly. Mom was mad because she wasn't allowed to keep me away from them legally and couldn't afford to move to get me away from them. There were times all the food at mom's house was from a food bank or soup kitchen. Clothes and other stuff were provided by charities. I never had to struggle as much. My mom made a point of telling me my aunt and uncle were disgusting people for letting my half-siblings do without. When I turned 18, I moved in with some friends and distanced myself from my mom, and I saw my aunt and uncle more. It bothered mom a lot. She told me she didn't understand me having a relationship with them when they would let my half-siblings starve. I told her they had no obligation to kids not related to them. After a couple of years of this and me ignoring mom 99% of the time, she's demanding I go no contact with my aunt and uncle so I can be her son and her kid's brother. She said I should be disgusted that they wouldn't take care of my family and the siblings I love. I told her I would never go no contact with my aunt and uncle, and I'd rather go no contact with her and her family, and that I was shocked she didn't pick up on that since I haven't seen her kids in more than 2 years and hardly ever respond to her texts or DMs. Mom said my half-siblings don't deserve this, and that she certainly doesn't. I told her she wrecked our stability by marrying her a-hole of a husband, and after that, she had no right to expect me to show that kind of loyalty. She started going off in my DMs, so I muted her, and now I'm just considering my options. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. As an adult, you can choose your family. You can also decide to cut some members out. Go no contact with your bio mom and let her fester in the mess she created. Go live your best life with those who truly care about you and your well-being. Not the a-hole. That's something I really enjoy doing already. My friends who I live with are family to me and me to them. We all come from less than perfect homes. My aunts and uncles have also become their honorary aunts and uncles. There's a good reason why your aunt and uncle have been given that honor by your housemates. There is, and I know we've become one pretty nice makeshift family by choice. One thing that blows my mind is that your mom married a deadbeat dad who already didn't take care of the children he brought into the world. She knew he wasn't a good provider, but decided to have more children with him. And then she's mad at your uncle and aunt for not stepping in and bridging the gap? Your half-siblings are the responsibility of their parents, not their older half-brother or your aunt and uncle. Next time she gives you grief, ask which auntie and uncle of her husband's older kids stepped up and paid the way for the kids he owes child support to. And maybe she should ask those strangers to also support the kids he had with her. The damned audacity. Good Lord. My mom only cared about what she wanted. That was so clear when she chose to move him in and marry him knowing he had so much debt and years of money issues that she then made the two of us live with. And then for her to act shocked when I didn't want him called my second dad? F my life. Not the a-hole. Your mom is reaping what she sowed. No contact is maybe even too friendly. I'm surprised no one called CPS on them. Live your life with positive people around you. My aunt and uncle actually did once. They were concerned because of how tight things were, and my mom refused to let them send stuff over for me. Last story. Am I the a-hole for making sure my daughter has everything she needs? I have a child, 14 female, with my ex. I was ordered to pay $1,000 a month in child support, which is fine. I can afford it, and I'll do anything for my child. But the problem is, isn't this money supposed to be used on my child? I don't feel like that's the case. I don't understand why my child wears hand-me-downs or eats cheap, crappy food. So I've started sending extra stuff. Like on the days I know her mom can't give her a ride, I'll get her a taxi, or I'll order food for her and send it to their house. On the nights she tells me her mom is making nuggets or something like that. Well, her mom thinks I'm an a-hole and that this is causing problems in her house. Not sure why that's my problem. I feel like everyone was so busy with what is best for my ex that they didn't even care about what is best for my child. I have 50-50 custody, and I gladly agreed to pay child support, but only because I was told the money would go towards making sure my daughter has similar lifestyles in both houses. And this is not what happened. I understand my ex's situation, I really do. She is disabled, and aside from my child, she has an older kid from a deadbeat and 2 younger ones with her husband. She wants to treat them all equally, but frankly, I don't care about them. I don't understand her mindset of, don't send things to your daughter because it makes the other kids jealous. If you want to send something, send it for all of the kids. Those aren't my kids. I understand that $1,000 a month is not much money, but if I'm paying for her insurance, medical bills, school, hobbies, allowance, and all of her other expenses during the 50% of the time that she's with me, that means her mom is only responsible for 50% of her basic needs. So how hard can it be to make sure those needs are met? I get told that she pays for electricity and toilet paper and water bills, etc. Well, so do I. And if it's such a problem, then from now on I will give my daughter some toilet paper to take to her mom's house. I get told that I should also pay my ex for her effort for helping my daughter with homework and preparing her meals. Why? Is that not her child too? And if I'm going to pay for every freaking thing, I might as well hire a nanny who does the job well. I don't understand the mindset of, so what if your child is eating fast food every other night? What if she has to walk for 30 minutes in an unsafe neighborhood? Those are all fine, until my daughter gets sick or gets kidnapped or worse. If I can prevent it, why shouldn't I? Do I really need to wait for something to happen to her? Because if I send my daughter a taxi, it will hurt her kids' feelings? Well, I'm sorry. I don't give a damn about her kids' feelings when it comes to my child's health and safety. I have made my decision. I'm taking her back to court, and I'm getting full custody of my child now that my daughter gets a say. I didn't try for full custody before because I felt like it would be a selfish decision to not let her be raised by her mom at least half the time. But now I feel like it would be a selfish decision not to make sure my daughter is safe and healthy and happy. And if that makes me an a-hole, I'm just going to have to get used to it. I think child support also helps pay rent and bills, as well as her clothes and food.
I think buying her clothes to have there is fine, but I personally think sending food because she doesn't like what they're having is going too far. Child support also pays rent, utilities, food, school needs, etc. I don't know where you guys live, but that much may not go too far. Sounds like the mom is trying to make the most out of the money she has and gets. You're trying so hard to frame the mom as neglectful, and yet the only examples you have is her wearing hand-me-downs and eating chicken nuggets. I don't know where anyone is getting that she's not cared for. She is. You're just being an a-hole for some reason. In your own biased opinion, you haven't provided anything that suggests she being neglected in any way. $1,000 a month in a high cost of living area isn't much either. So again, not sure why people are falling over themselves about it. This is just a single mom bad post. Look, I'm not trying to frame her as neglectful or anything else. What I'm saying is that I didn't work my butt off so that my daughter gets to live in poverty. I also didn't work my butt off to end up paying for someone else's family. What is the point of having this job and this life if I can't share it with my only child? And my daughter is frustrated. She comes home to me and she has a comfortable life, and just as she is starting to get used to it, she has to leave and go live in a small crowded house where she can't even have some quiet time or a nice meal. This is just not working for us. Do you want full or more custody? Maybe it would be better for your kid if she spent more time with you. Full custody. Of course she can visit her mom whenever she wants, but I want her to live with me. This is what I would do in your case. You provide plenty for your child. The mother should also be providing. If she can't manage it with a husband, then that's not your problem to take care of her other 3 kids. Your main concern is your daughter. If she wants to live with you, then go back to court.